This has been School News Roundup.
This has been School News Roundup. Today is
Saturday the 20th.
Today is Saturday, June 20th, and this has been School News Roundup by Rockstar Academics. It's springtime in the desert here in northern Nevada, and everything is blooming, including the roses, which is they're here today because they're so beautiful. So everything's blooming, so we're all sneezing. So the news is, this report that I'm going to talk about today is a survey that was done by, and everybody's doing surveys, right? Because that's how we get data. Survey says, well, and we get data, and it's easier to get data because everybody's in front of their computers, and so everybody's doing surveys. We had a new survey this week released by Naviance, who's a software provider mainly for schools to help students with the application process. Really, it helps high school, college counselors, high school guidance counselors with the process. It helps families some too. But anyway, they did the survey, and major spoiler alert, turns out high school students are extremely behind in the process of choosing and applying to colleges because of coronavirus.
So how behind are they?
Face plant. Did we see that one coming? Well, so here's the survey. Here are the survey results. Pretty interesting, and I'm going to put them on the screen because, let's see, preview. Check this out, guys. So this is last year compared to this year. So last year, by Christmas time, about 38% of juniors had started searching for colleges. That's not very well defined, which is pretty interesting. So they started searching for colleges, and they had 28% of them had started visiting colleges by Christmas of their junior year, and so on down the first column. So 37% of students had taken their first test. 41% of them had met with a counselor or a teacher about the college decision process. Really unusual for a junior to be putting a college list together before Christmas, but not so unusual for them to be doing it in the spring of their junior year, which is normally where we see where at Rockstar Academics we start filling our class for the year. So we're starting to sign families up for our comprehensive coaching packages in the spring of junior year, and we're starting to do all these things that you see. That's what we're up to in the spring of junior year. So these blue numbers are what it looks like kind of in a normal year. And so over in the green is what it looked like this year, so before Christmas. And you'll notice what I think is really interesting here is that you see a drop in all the numbers, except for one. You see a drop in all those numbers before Christmas, even though coronavirus had not started yet.
Not really.
It definitely had started. But we hadn't started having some emergency response to coronavirus until February, really. But we're seeing a drop anyway.
So apparently that's not the cause.
So, and I haven't actually, in all the news coverage that I've been paying attention to, I haven't seen a whole lot or heard a whole lot of people, talking heads like us, talk about the fact that these declines were already showing up before coronavirus started becoming a major issue. And so that is very likely because we were already anticipating a downturn in the economy, although I don't feel particularly qualified to predict why they were down. There are some pretty obvious suspects, including all of us anticipating a downturn. But then what you see is in the second half of their junior year, this year, juniors, rising seniors at the end of their junior year this year, you see such a huge drop-off in activity. So whereas 26% would have been searching for colleges, only 14% were doing that this spring, whereas 26 were visiting. Of course, almost nobody was visiting colleges this spring, so that's not a surprise at all. And since all of the spring and summer administrations of the SAT and ACT were canceled, naturally very few students managed that.
But look at the meeting with counselors and teachers numbers.
And that is, and that's where I stopped, because of course we know why that happened. They weren't at school.
Right.
So they weren't at school, so they didn't have access. They didn't have access to their college counselor. Now, this is a soapbox thing for me, where I can get really going, because most high school students don't have access to their college guidance counselor anyway, on average. So the average high school guidance counselor in American public schools has a caseload between 400 and 600 students.
So they have a lot of time for every student, since they're in school, 200 days a year?
200 days a year, and they're going to meet with, if they met with 2 students a day, they'd meet with all of their students. And the school, we could do the math, but the point is, most American high school students don't really have access to college guidance. And they have less access than they think they do, because parents a lot of times assume that because there's a guidance counselor at the school, that counselor is trained and prepared and able to provide college guidance, whereas it's actually a very small part of their job description. It's not that they're not doing their job, guys. This is not their job.
Yeah.
So they have much less guidance about the college process and the alternatives to college at school anyway. But if the students are not in the school building, then they didn't have access at all.
Because they are unable to telephone.
Well, another survey that was released this week also pointed out that less than 10% of American high schools had any sort of rigorous contact with students after the building was closed.
Ooh.
Really, really, really unfortunate. So, I mean, that would include any kind of really real-time online interaction either. So, you guys already know this because you were living it. It wasn't happening. And so some major issues that we're seeing coming forward are going to be learning loss from coronavirus, lack of the kind of guidance and advising services that are needed for students to get on a good path, in addition to all the other barriers that are now in place for students going to college that weren't there before, including our campus is open, our campus is safe, can we still afford it? In addition, they haven't had access to good advice about how to navigate the process.
That's a challenge. That's a really significant challenge.
We're telling you guys something you already know, but the numbers were pretty striking for me.
Yeah, I hadn't really digested how big a percentage that is.
So I'm going to put it back up on the screen again, actually, because I have another slide. So yeah, they're striking, right? 17%. That's the biggest drop of all the drops on all the numbers. The drop in ability to meet with counselors and their teachers is the biggest drop of all. It went from 40%. So if you add those two numbers up from 2019, that's actually a wonderful number. If you add it up and you say 40% had done it by 11th grade and 40% had done it by the second half of 11th grade, that's 82%, 83% of students in an average year will have met with a counselor by the end of their junior year. That's encouraging. Of course, we don't know what the quality of that meeting was.
Well, in that 12 to 15 minute meeting, I'm sure you can discover a great deal about how to select career potentials. I'm sure there's a great deal of testing done.
We serve sarcasm free here at School News Roundup.
I'm sure there's a lot of assistance in getting students through career counseling processes and career selection processes, because what should you do when you grow up? Because
the conventional wisdom about how to help a student make that decision is wrong. So in addition to these counselors doing this thing that really isn't in their job description, which is providing career and college guidance,
right.
Our conventional wisdom, according to the guys at 80,000 Hours who have done a bunch of research over at Cambridge and Oxford, the conventional wisdom about how we pick a career is basically dead wrong. Well, the things that we think predict success and happiness in a career, they do not predict.
Oh, you want success and happiness? Which one of those would you rather have?
Yeah. So we could probably do a whole episode on that.
I think so.
But I had a new client last year. When we were talking about working together, she told me that she'd asked at school about getting a meeting with the school guidance counselor, and this was at a career-focused high school, so a career and technical training, vocational focused high school. She'd asked to meet with the college guidance counselor at the school and had been told there was a 2.5 month wait to get in for a meeting with her guidance counselor. Public high school.
Well, so long as you're not making this request in May.
Well, so speaking of that, here we are, guys. These numbers really, frankly, surprised me. They shouldn't surprise me because it matches what we've seen here. We've seen, a much lower enrollment for my class this year.
Right. But I think this means that there's going to be a future tsunami arrive.
Yeah, and I really haven't been thinking about it. I don't really think about promoting this business. The business sort of shows up, and it always has.
Yeah.
But because of online, I wasn't surprised or particularly worried about the fact that, people are really worried about their families and their health and security and all these other things, and that makes sense. But I guess I hadn't really connected that this is why, right? Students are not in school, they really weren't learning, they really weren't having classes. So what's causing them to think, oh my gosh, I need to be thinking about this problem? So because of these statistics that we've been talking about, which is, we've talked so much about students who haven't made college decisions. So we're maybe less surprised to see that finances are a much bigger consideration this year for seniors. Like, this is sort of a duh. And this is what I've seen my clients who are my outgoing class who are off to college next year now. This is what I've seen is that this is exactly what's happening. They're way more interested and concerned about finances. Parents are saying, look, we really need you to know what you're doing and why you're going, which is something that I push my students for anyway, because you can't make a plan and set a goal, right?
Yeah.
And location and being close to home, twice as important as it used to be, all these things. This is not as surprising as the juniors being behind schedule was a surprise to me.
It explains a few things with numbers you've seen within your enrollment, because they haven't been as expected. But yeah, this all implies to me that there's a future tsunami coming for everybody in this kind of industry. There'll be a lot of last minute. I won't be surprised if about Thanksgiving we get the phone call about, I need to get...
You guys, Thanksgiving, it's too late. So actually, I'm going to interrupt you because it's time for another shameless self-promotion, which I'm not good at. But after looking at those numbers, I now realize I really need to be more sort of prescriptive. We need to get on the phone with families and talk about how we can get students on track, because college applications are due on November 1st.
Yeah.
I mean, the hard deadlines, many of them are in February, or big state schools, the deadlines are way, way, way out. But priority applications, if you want to be considered for scholarships, if you want to be considered for housing, if you want to be considered for honors programs, if you want to ensure there's a spot for you in Engineering 101, November 1st, guys. And that's, so, my sort of full spectrum from college lost to college launched out the door is a 90-day program. So November 1st, October 1st, September 1st, August 1st, right? We are closing in on it is time. And so I talked earlier about the program that we got up and live on the website, which is online content to support students who decide to coach privately one-on-one once a week or twice a month with me, and I walk students through the entire process. But that program is launched and up live for students who can go through it on their own. It's a 5-step process. We start with, I won't go through the steps now. I'll come back to it. There's a 5-step process, and it supports coaching with me. And the result is students have a goal. They've identified an educational goal. So, they've identified a potential set of careers they're interested in. They've set a goal. They've identified, this is the kind of major that'll set me up well for success. And these are the schools where I can get that major. And these are schools where I can get that major that I am set up to be successful at that school, where I have a good chance of getting in. So the result is, You've got a goal, you've got a reason for the goal, and you've got a plan, an educational plan, okay? So that's ready to go. But here's what, looking at these numbers and looking at sort of the really seriousness of students not already moving along in this process, juniors not moving along, that I'm kind of thinking about doing for that brand new program that's just released, right? So what if I did a special offer and offered to move a group of students through as a group together? And instead of that, all that material is beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. The video lessons and the workbooks that I've been using in my private practice are now going to be available within that course. Look, like it's kind of like a master class or like a Coursera class, is how the experience goes. But instead of only offering it to my premium one-on-one clients, what if I moved a group of students through it as a group together? And we could, this particular module, the Map to Success program is not 90 days long. It's 6 weeks long. It's sort of the first 6 weeks of that 90-day program. And we get a group together and we go through it together. And instead of a one-on-one coaching call, we do a group coaching call. Maybe we limit it to 10 students.
I can't see it working very effectively for a larger group than that because the overhead starts to
I think 10 is the right number. Hey, if we get 20 students, we'll do 2 groups, right?
Exactly.
But what it would do, so the first step we do with parents and students. So parents would show up for the first one, and then I work with the students for 3 sessions on the 5-step process. And then the 5th meeting, we bring the parents back to get everybody in the family on board for the same commitment of planning. And we could do that we could put families through it as a group. And the reason we would do that, of course, is I could offer it at a much lower cost for each family.
Right.
Because I really, looking at these numbers this week and seeing how many students are really not moving through the process yet.
So
wow, guys, we gotta go. We gotta go. You gotta call. Yeah. Rockstaracademics.com. We gotta go.
It's one of those guys. You guys stand by for a website update because that's the idea. I think that it has value for the client out. I think that the students and the students' parents
to do it as a group program.
Yeah.
Well, we'll call it like the founding class. And we'll call it a special, because if it works, I'll keep doing it that way forever, right?
Sure.
That would be fantastic to be able to offer it as a group program. I guess that's what everybody else is doing. So for their courses and stuff, like doing group programs. But we could do it at a really special price to incentivize you guys. I mean, on one hand, all my friends who have teenage kids are calling me saying, like, what can I get these kids doing?
Yeah.
How do I get them engaged and get them motivated, because they haven't been in school. So, well, what they should be doing is getting involved in a program like this, where we're going to walk through step by step. Let's talk about what does work and what doesn't work. I use the 80,000 hours, folks. What works to help you predict a career that will set you up for a life you love.
Yep.
What does work? What doesn't work? What do you need to do? Building a list, setting some options, collecting the information you need to compare the options, do the decision matrix like we did in the workshop a couple weeks ago. So I need to know if people are interested in doing it as a group, because I will make some adjustments, right? I'll have to make some adjustments to how we deliver the course, but it's kind of an exciting idea to deliver it that way, because I'm excited to get feedback on the brand new content, to be honest.
Yeah. So we'll have to
it's not brand new content, it's just brand new delivery.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to make a process on the website for getting feedback.
Oh yeah. Well, here's how we would do it. So we would do it the same way that I was planning to use the material, which is it basically utilizes a flipped classroom model, making sure that students have already reviewed some of the material we're going to discuss before we show up and discuss it.
Yeah.
And so it delivers, there's a video lesson sort of summarizing, here's what we need to talk about this week, and here's kind of where you want to go to get information you need to bring to our meeting, and some worksheets to help students think through the questions and problems and activities that we need to get through for the week. And so the whole, the 90-day program to get them from why we're calling it lost, where they don't know it all the way to how applications are finished. There's a timeline, right? So this is what you got to do here to be on track. Next week, this is what you got to do this week to stay on track. Next week after that, these things. Next week after that, these things. And this program is the first piece of that, and it's launched. And so if you start this program, it's getting you through the first 6 weeks worth of do this to stay on track, and then do this. But this program specifically is just getting you through the decision about what do you want to, what career are you after, what majors and other experiences do you need for that career, where can you go to get those experiences and credentials and learning that you need. It's a little bit new, right? So it's not brand new, and this is not just version 1 that hasn't been tested, but in some ways I want to hear, as we've talked about all semester, learning works differently online. So we've got to do things differently.
Every class that I taught, and I taught for a lot of years, a lot of in person more than online, at the end of every class, there's a review of what worked, what didn't work. What did we learn? What went right? What went wrong? How do we fix that?
Do you know that I do that review at the end of every coaching conversation I have?
And
I always have.
Critical.
Sometimes my students are rolling their eyes, and they know we're 10 minutes over time, and I'm still taking time to say, what was the most important thing you learned today?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, guys, I've got this idea. I've been thinking about running this class, this material, this brand new material, as a group experience this year for the first time. And I need to know if you guys are interested in participating and working through what currently is my private premium VIP one-on-one coaching with students. Would you be interested in participating in a group version of that, where I'm going to be launching the online content, and we'll do, instead of one-on-one coaching sessions, we'll do a group session probably every week for 5 or 6 weeks. And it'll be available at a much more affordable, in a much more affordable way than it would be if it were one-on-one coaching. But you'll be getting through basically all the same steps. So I need to know if you're interested in that, so I can adapt and modify it a little bit and get it launched. So we're gonna get it. We gotta get it out there, right? So I would like to start right after the 4th of July, maybe. So I need to hear from you guys. You gotta have to email me at houston@rockstaracademics.com. and let me know if this is something that you're interested in. So I guess I'll probably need to send out an email and a
I'm going to
Facebook
suggest
post
to you
saying,
that
please email me and let me know if you are interested in this.
email's a good thing.
Houston
We may end up doing a little
Rockstar.
survey.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to put my email address right across my face here. It's going to say houston@rockstaracademics.com. So you're going to email me if you are like, yes, I'm in, I want to do this.
Or if
And
they have
then-
a different request, that would be good to hear.
And tell me what you think. I'm interested. Here's what I would want. We'll be kind of building it together, right? So you can email me at houston@rockstaracademics.com. And I can put a little survey together asking some questions, and I will send it out. I'll send out the survey as well. So you can email me at houston@rockstaracademics.com. The other thing you could do is you could actually sign up for our mailing list, because if I do this, I guess I'll also send out an email about details to the mailing list. So you want to be added to the mailing list, houston@rockstaracademics.com. Let me know if you're interested in this, and we'll get you signed up. And how did I do? I'm really, self-promotion is not my forte.
I think we're done for the week.
We're done for the week. We talked about news.
We did. Talked about a couple of kinds of news.
We talked about flowers, pretty flowers. All right. Who are we? What are we? School News Roundup?
Yep. This has been School News Roundup.
This has been School News Roundup. Today is
Saturday the 20th.
Today is Saturday, June 20th, and this has been School News Roundup by Rockstar Academics. We talked about news. We talked about testing problems. We talked about what is really the purpose of college, and we also talked great length about how to choose a job, how to choose a career, how to choose a major in college that's going to get you to the life you love. And that's what we do here.
That's a great week.
That's a pretty great week. You guys have a great Saturday.